Alla Krayzman was born
17 June of 1941. Alla Krayzman was born in Odessa 5 days before World War II began. Of course, she couldn't have known what happened, but her family told her everything in detail. Her sister Mila Krayzman was born at the 23rd March in 1940. She was also born in Odessa. When Alla Krayzman was born, her mother was still in childbed, but since Odessa was one of the cities to be bombed first, the hospital was evacuated. Since there were many factories in Odessa, the staff of the factories was evacuated first. The employees of the factories were given tickets and they were allowed to move to Central Asia. But since none of Alla Krayzman's family was employed in the factory, they had to stay in Odessa. Alla's family went to the port several times to get on the ship, but they were not allowed. But one day people saw Alla's mother holding a 2-year-old child by the hand and a child by her chest, and they let the Krayzmans go with them. They had nothing because the people who were allowed to leave and were ready to move away. But the Krayzmans had nothing with them because they did not know that they were allowed to leave. And they also did not want to carry their baggage with them every time. During the journey, rich people saw that the family had nothing and they gave the family bread and water.
They got off at the nearest point, and they were later added to the list of evacuees. The whole maternal family was there. The mother alone already had 7 other siblings, but her older and younger brother had to fight at the front in the tank, and they died in the process. Out of 5 sisters, 4 came with them to Central Asia, and they lived in the circle where all the evacuees had gathered.
There were around 100 people in each district, and each family had a piece of property, but it wasn't a ghetto. Because it was a point where evacuees of all nationalities had gathered. Later they were rerouted to Tashkent, and they lived in the district there. Alla Krayzman's father worked in a flour factory and was responsible for magnets. He was very lucky because if he didn't work there, he would have to be at the front. The factory was called Ural Marsh. He received a badge with a medal for it later after World War II, but it was left behind in Odessa. Then they had to move to the Urals and they got a small apartment there. The mother went to work with all the others' family. You worked as a medic. Alla spent her day with her older sister, Mila. She was 4 and Alla was 3. She put them on, made food for them, taught them Russian and watched so that no one would come. Living as a Jew wasn't really that difficult because people didn't even know what it was. So they knew what a Jew was, but they weren't interested and they all lived the same way because there were hard times for each. Later, after the World War II, they moved to Mykolaiv because it was impossible to live in Odessa. Their parents' house was destroyed and the whole city was broken. Since Mykolaiv was partly broken, the father of the family found a job. He was very frugal and knew about finances, which had given the family an advantage. When they arrived in Mykolaiv, Alla Krayzman went to kindergarten in 1947 and in 1948. Alla Krayzman went to school number 15, which was the closest. Since the family came from Odessa, they tried with all their might to come back to Odessa. After everything was rebuilt in Odessa, the family moved to Odessa, and they were able to continue a somewhat normal life.